Let's welcome everyone to the first Strive With Me Mastermind. I'm very excited to be able to facilitate this with the founder, Melissa, and we have Anza as well. We have this first one. The purpose of it is to really facilitate and show a model for the rest of the group of how we can come together in a harmonious way and combine our different intelligences and resources and concepts so that we can help each other in our personal projects and then also facilitate deeper connection. As you know, Strive is a community that is established online with the major Facebook group. But this element will help us to not break away, but add another element to the digital presence so that we can see each other face to face and we can have fun in conversation and really cover the deep topics that are presented within the Facebook group. So we can do this in person and we can do this face to face and through voice. So much deeper connection. Also, if you are familiar with the mastermind group, the concept of philosophy from Napoleon Hill, he was, I would say, one of the first pioneers of bringing this idea to the West and formalizing it in his book, Think and Grow Rich. And the definition of it, as he explains it, I will just read here. In the early 1900s, he says that the principle is the coordination of knowledge and effort of two or more people who work toward a definite purpose in the spirit of harmony. So we get these keywords of harmony, coordination, knowledge, spirit, and purpose. So throughout this mastermind today, we would like to cover each of those areas and have fun in the process. So welcome to everyone who is able to view this. I will just start with introductions, and we can just say a little bit about ourselves, what really brought us here, and our connection to Strive With Me. So I'll go first. I'm Trent. My connection to Strive With Me, instantly the name itself and the brand that Melissa was working to present really connected with me because I have a drive for continuous improvement and also having desired a space digitally that holds an integrity of wanting to discuss deep topics, and not so much the deep topics in itself, but also being able to find practical means to apply the knowledge that comes from communication. So by trade, I am a writer and a career development consultant. I have been in the education industry for several years, and I blend these two, education, career, consulting, with mindfulness. And so that those three together form a pyramid where I can help professionals with their documentation, their professional work, excelling on the job, and also being able to do this stress-free or with reduced stress and more internal balance. And so I'm really excited to be a part of this group, and Melissa's openness to allowing members of the group to really present their skills and their knowledge base to add value to the group.
Awesome. So I guess I'll go next. So my name is Melissa. You'll see online, my name is Melissa Taylor. I'm the founder of Strive With Me, but really I think a lot of it's more community-based. So I just kind of facilitate a lot of the content and kind of organize, while the content writers and contributors really are the spirit of the brand. I guess my connection with Strive is that I founded it as a way to kind of really build the community, as well as bring great people together that are all working to better themselves in whatever shape or way or form, connect with people that are looking to better themselves as well, and work together to kind of collaborate and join forces to everyone is able to strive together. And what brought me here today was came up with an amazing idea of doing a mastermind. I'm also familiar with it through Napoleon Hill's teaching. And I was really excited to have this a part of the Strive family, because I think that for me, the purpose, what I do best is I'm able to build like infrastructures and kind of create different structures, and then allow people to much more brilliant minds than myself take over and do what they do best, while I kind of am more in a support role. In my day-to-day life, I'm a startup founder. I work in startups as well as economic development. My team and I lead Waterfront Ventures, which is an economic development organization that utilizes startups as well as entrepreneurship ecosystems to address social and economic development issues.
Thank you. Anza.
My name is Anza Goodbar, and I am connected with Strive because I met Melissa in a Facebook group, and we just had an instant kinship and synergy, which has been super fun. And she has invited me to be a regular contributor through her blog, which I'm super excited about. I too am familiar with the mastermind format through Napoleon Hill and his book, but also through the John Maxwell team, which is where I got my coaching certificate. And I just am totally stoked to be surrounded by people who want to continue to improve themselves and grow and have deep understandings on really important topics and make an impact in the world. My day job is coaching. I'm a coach or trainer and speaker, and I work primarily with women who are going through transition in their life to help them really create unconditional self-love, a self-care regimen, to create confidence and courage to go forward and live out the life that they believe they were meant to live, but maybe just didn't have the opportunity for whatever reason. So I am excited to be here today to be able to share ideas, to gain different understandings, and just to get to know you guys on a deeper level too.
Wonderful. Thank you. And so now that we have the formal introductions out of the way, we can have a bit of fun with one question. And that question is, what is one interesting fact about you that others might not know? So mine, I will go with martial arts practice. I've been practicing Taekwondo since I was 10 years old. And I was very inspired by sitting on the couch one night and watching The Karate Kid on the couch in the living room. And I went to the Yellow Pages back when we had the physical Yellow Pages, and you actually had to flip through the book to find the addresses. So I harassed my mother to take me to a Taekwondo class in the city, and I loved it since then and continue to practice. So it's 24 years.
Wow. You don't look old enough to be doing that for years. I guessed you were 24.
I was just going to say that as well. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. That's probably another one I could have gone with at the age that I can get by on the 20s. Yes, I'm 34. Who would like to go next?
I think Anza's way more interesting. I need more time to think about what's interesting about me.
Okay, I can go. So from the time I was a little girl, I used to love to watch dance on PBS, and I always wanted to grow up and be one of those beautiful women in the fancy dresses and the beautiful makeup and hair, just being whisked around the dance floor like Cinderella. And unfortunately, I was born with no rhythm, and every time I tried to take a dance lesson or clap in public, I was shh. And it's like, no, you can't do that. That's not your talent. You need to find your talent, but this isn't your talent. And when I got married, my husband was a dance instructor. That's how he made his way through college. And so I was like, yes, this is my chance. And he said, yeah, no, I can't teach you how to dance. You really need to give up that dream. And in fact, we were in public trying to dance. And this little old man who must have been like 70 came up and just grabbed my hand and patted my hand. And he said, oh, honey, this isn't for you. And so I was like, I really want to dance. I feel like that's my calling. I'm supposed to do this. So when I was 42, I was looking for a housekeeper online. And for some reason, a dance instructor came up. And so I was like, my heart was just calling out to this little guy, and I was like, I want to dance. So I wrote to him and I said, look, this is my story. I've had this dream for almost 40 years and I just want to dance. And he said, if you can walk, I can teach you to dance. And I'm like, no, but I don't think you really understand the gravity of my situation. And he's like, no, I promise you I can teach you to dance. So I booked an initial appointment to go in with him, and I took my oldest daughter with me, and I was nervous and I fell in love with it just immediately. And after my second lesson, this is my silliness here, I said, have you ever heard of dance sport? And then, after I say that, I'm like, well, of course he has. He's a dance instructor. And he's like, yes, I have. And that in fact, and this was February, he said, in fact, there's going to be a dance sport competition here in Denver in June. I think we should do it. Now, I was thinking about this being like a 10-year plan to get me there because I knew my deficits, right? And so I was like, yeah, we should do that in June. Let's do that. And so, I'm thinking 1 or 2 dances. He says, I think we can do all 10 dances. Let's get busy. And so in June, I entered my first dance competition, and I've been hooked ever since. And it's been super fun, and it just brings a joy to my life that nothing else does. And so,
Sure.
never too late to follow your dream or, squash those voices of everyone else saying, hey, you can't do that. If you really want to, you can.
Very well done. It speaks to major persistence. I can actually say that I know dance sport. There's one in New York.
Yes.
And yeah, they have very good dance programs. I sampled one of the classes. It's a plug for a dance sport, as I support them also.
It's hard to get guys in your age group out there dancing. It seems to be
Really,
at least here in Denver. It's 50s and over, and it's really hard to attract the younger generation into that wonderful sport.
They're missing out, man. That's how you pick up all the girls. That's how you pick up all the girls.
And do you know that every 50-year-old man says, man, if I would have known this in my 20s, my life would have turned out different.
It's great. It's great.
So maybe those who are listening today will have the inspiration from your story.
I'm inspired, as always. She just inspired, I guess, my fun tidbit. So I was very fortunate to grow up. Is this supposed to be a fun fact or like a fun thing about me? What is it? What is the topic?
Oh, well, just so anything that one might not know, or an interesting fact.
Okay. All right. So I am still very fortunate to grow up and surround myself with very diverse people of different cultures, backgrounds, life experiences. And I think that's something that I'm very proud of. So tiny fun fact, I grew up in Atlantic City and went to Atlantic City High School. And for a lot of people, every time I meet someone and I say that, they're very shocked because no one lives in Atlantic City because it's like a mini Vegas. But anyways, it's a very diverse high school. I grew up with different cultures and learning about so many different people. I had like really close friends that taught me about Indian culture, Puerto Rican culture, Dominican culture. I learned later on how to salsa, merengue, and bachata. Grew up being invited into the Filipino culture. And it's funny because although I grew up bicultural, it took me, I won't diverge too much, but it took me a while to accept my Vietnamese culture side, because growing up, so I'm a first generation Vietnamese American. And when you grow up in that environment, it's very, it's like to survive socially as well as like culturally, you almost want to assimilate. And so for me, I remember like at a young age, I just wanted to fit in with my friends. And so I really wanted to just really be as American as possible and not speak the language or anything like that. Luckily, my parents forced me to do both. So now I can speak pretty well. And as I grew up, the more I learned about different cultures and backgrounds, and really get it's just so beautiful to be able to meet people of different backgrounds and culture and understand and really get to know people's history and experiences through their eyes. And I think it's so amazing. And I think especially with today's climate, it's saddened with a lot of the political issues, because I think that if we were able to embrace each other, we would really get so much more out of it, and really not only learn so much about ourselves, but learn so much about the world around us. Because the more I learned about people's cultures and the more I traveled or anything like that, the more I learned about how some things we are different, but for the most part, we're actually a lot alike. And there's a lot of similarities between Asian culture and Latin culture and Black culture with white culture and anywhere in between. Like there's so many great things that does overlap, but a lot of people tend to look at all the differences, and that saddens me a lot, because I think that the more you embrace someone else for who they are, what they bring to the table, and what they can offer, the better our communities can be. So that's kind of my fun tidbit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally agree. And that the understanding can bring us a difference in how we communicate with each other. And even when there are challenges, differences, or disagreements, I think the understanding actually helps to find that middle ground or commonality. Oh, I totally agree with you. Thank you for sharing. So I would like us to now, you can sit back and get in a comfortable spot. So in masterminds or in groups, it's important for including the different layers of connection. And so as we did the introductions, we have the interesting fact, there are different ways that we are sharing or connecting. Having a meditation as well will help us to bring us to a deeper space for the further work that we're going to do. So you can just get comfortable. If you are watching this recording, you can follow us as well. And just take a comfortable position. You can sit up straight and allow your eyes to close. And we're going to have a basic visualization. And what this is going to do is help put us in a space of further creativity. And with the eyes closed, you can breathe in from the lower abdomen. So this is below the belly button. And you want to push out and make that grow big as we inhale. And then as you exhale, you just allow the breath to exit and that lower belly to deflate. And we'll inhale. I will count for 3 seconds, and then we will exhale. We'll inhale. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. 1, 2, 3. Inhale. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. 1, 2, 3. One more. Inhale. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. 1, 2, 3. You can allow yourself to continue breathing normally. And in this image, just allow yourself to see a park. And it's an open space and it's sunny outside. And you're in the walk path. And just look to your left and to your right and allow yourself to see what you see. Are there people sitting down? Are there squirrels on the grass? Are there birds flying? What imagery comes to you? Allow yourself to feel the sun, the warmth on your skin. And then look down and see what clothes are you wearing? What shoes are you wearing, if any? What color are they? What about pants, shorts, skirt? What about your shirt? Any sleeves? Short sleeve, no sleeve? Allow the image of yourself to form there. And now just start to walk forward on this park path and continue letting those visuals form on your left and your right. Are there more people? People having fun? Now, as you look forward, you see a person who is facing forward, so their back is to you, and they're not moving. And as you walk closer to that person, just take a few more steps closer. Their back is still facing you. And now that person turns around, and that person is you. And this is you in your strongest, most confident, powerful, charismatic, best self. So, what is this you wearing? Same as you? What are the colors? Any special accessories? And now go up, look up into the eyes of that you, and just take in the facial expression. What's that energy being given to you? And now that you opens their arms and reaches out to hug you. And so you hug back, and you have a very tight embrace there. And as you hold tight, that you disappears. And so you stand there now by yourself. The other you's disappeared, but the other you has left a gift in your hand. And so when you look at your hand, allow yourself to form what that gift is. What does it look like? Examine the details. And so the highest you hasn't disappeared, but turned into the gift, which is still you. You've become that. And so standing there in the park, we can take a deep breath. Just inhale and then exhale. And then one more inhale and then exhale. And when you feel ready, you can open your eyes. And so let me know when you're ready, since I'm unable to see you.
I'm ready.
Okay, great. So without having to share, there isn't a need to express the details of it. But just curious about any experience that you've had, or maybe the feeling of it, if not wanting to share the detail.
I think that for me, it was a very interesting experience. Well, first off, you did a great job leading the meditation. Second, I thought it was interesting because as you went to kind of describe the other person, I remember like seeing this person. I felt like like when I looked at I guess the future me or whatever, whoever she was, it felt like she was bigger than where I am now. But then I realized like, wait, but it's me. I'm short. So like I almost had to like resize her. You know what I mean? Like I had to resize like, yeah, I'm only 5'2". Like come down a bit. I'm no matter how like what this future me looks like, she can't be that tall. Even if she's wearing heels or whatever, she's not that big of a person. But I think it's more so a reflection of the energy. And so I've been told, especially like networking events or certain times in my life, that I carry myself very tall. So when people see me either like outside of professional events or in flats or whatever it is, they're like, oh, I never realized how short you physically were until they stood next to me. Other things were that I just remember feeling that she was bigger. There was a lot of energy that was kind of radiating off. I thought about what she wore a little bit harder than I felt like I should have, because I think that when I think of the better version of myself, I think of that person having a specific career or a specific kind of image. And then also when you talked about the GIF, it was very interesting because in my journey the last few months, it's been this consistent message of kind of liberating myself and being free to accept who I am and allow myself to grow in this direction that I really want without any limitations or any fear. And so so the gift was actually a key. It was a metaphorical, but I think also a physical key that carved on it that says like, be you. And I thought, I was like, what could this key mean? Like, yeah, it sounds like, all right, key to the future or key to be myself or access to be myself. But at the same time, I was like, is this a key to a physical place? Meaning wherever my next job is, could this be the key to the apartment or where I could be next? So I thought that was interesting.
Wonderful. There's so many layers that you were able to get out of it. And that's precisely the intent behind the experience. Enza, is there anything?
My experience was very similar to Melissa's, as I was thinking about, being in this park and walking and just kind of focusing a little bit more on what I'm dressed in today. I have on a tennis skirt and a tank top, and I've been outside, and, I just kind of had that energy going. But then when you talked about this person stopping, stopped in front of me, there was like this anticipation to know, who is that person? Why are they in my path? What impact, is going to happen from this exchange? And then, when it was like, start thinking about what this person would be wearing and, on and on. And it was the same thing. And all of a sudden this person was bigger. And when you said, look up, I literally moved my head and looked up like this person was 10 feet tall. The presence that future me projected felt much bigger than the present me. And one of the things that I've been working on is really gaining more visibility so I can reach more people. And with some of that vulnerability, there's a little bit of fear. And when you said, look down into your hands and look at what the gift was, for me, it was like this glowing ball of energy. And for me, that represented courage, because sometimes I think I'm afraid of the power that I have and I hold it back. And that almost was, I don't know, a sign or a comfort that's like, you can absorb that energy into yourself and have that courage and embrace the powerfulness that resides in you, and don't be afraid of it. That, I think we all deal with people judging us in different ways, either still hearing those tapes from our past or, new people that we encountered. I actually had a piece of hate mail come in last week. I've never had that. And, it gave me a whole new perspective of what it means to be, I don't want to say celebrity because that's certainly not what I am, but, more known and having people outside of like your real sphere of influence in the real world, out in the internet, everybody can have access and they can share their opinion, and just kind of that reassurance that, okay, if I am having people impacting in a way that people disagree with what my path is, just for the sake of disagreement and not being able really to back it up and just kind of being mean. It's like, I'm hitting a chord, I'm saying the right things, I'm getting people's attention. And there was something in that piece of hate mail that really resonated with me. And it was like, okay, I mean, you just need to be able to be brave enough to withstand the arrows that are going to come towards you as you get more out there. And so it just gave me a little bit more of a piece of the vision that's unfolding before me.
Isn't it a beautiful thing to be able to extract all of that understanding from a visualization?
Yeah,
that's amazing. So this tool is can be utilized by anyone, and it's really just script or scenario based learning, where we go inward, utilizing the imagination and allowing what emerges from the subconscious to really give us the signs and messages. So thank you for sharing that very, very in-depth understanding, because the core messages in it I resonate with also. That taking a larger stage does in effect create opportunities for opposition or people to disagree, and like the hate mail you mentioned, by definition of sharing one's insight or perspective, it creates an opportunity for that kind of feedback to take place, and it really does just challenge us to develop resiliency, to recognize that that's possible, and to continue on, with our visions. So thank you for that. I wanted to include just a brief current issue as well before we get into our specific work. And for those who are going to be listening to this, the topic is on work-life balance and the challenges with. So even if you haven't read the articles, they're just two, and one mentions the challenges, and then the other mentions some possibilities. And I suspect that all of us here, in the work world, possibly have dealt with or experienced or continue to experience the division or pulling of excessive work or work-life balance challenges. So I'll just read some data points here. This article is called Study U.S. Workers Burned Out from ABC News. And it just starts off by saying more than half of U.S. employees feel overworked or overwhelmed at least some of the time, according to a national study released on this date, which was May 16th. And 70% say they often dream of having a different job. Another data point says that 20% often or very often felt overworked. 29% said they often or very often felt they had no time to reflect. Other data points, working 50 or more hours a week. A percentage said they worked 6 to 7 days per week. Another percentage says, this is 55% saying employees who did not take all of their vacation report high levels of feeling overworked versus those who did decide to take their vacation. And the highlight for the age bracket here, 36 to 54, which they consider baby boomers, said they felt more overworked than those younger or either older. And so the article just continues to discuss the health or potential health effects of overwork, and also mentions concern about U.S. citizens or U.S. professionals in particular, even being offered opportunities to take vacation or take time off. This nation, for a number of reasons, just chooses not to take the vacation days or time off. So I just wanted to share that article, and then some of the possibilities come from a different article on Forbes. The title says 14 employee well-being initiatives that will boost engagement and productivity. And so I'll just name just some of the few that are here, and then we can move into discussion. One is mindfulness training. Another is new or working parent career coaching opportunities. Another is financial education, emotional intelligence development training. And yes, so there's a large list, but I just wanted to raise this as a discussion topic, and ask the questions of what your experiences might be regarding just work life and the recognition of, I suppose, the consistent introduction of work into our spaces now, especially that we are more mobile. I recognize for my past job was less work-life balance intruding. But the most recent position that I had with a nonprofit in Harlem, we were given laptops and we were given cell phones. And while there wasn't an outright verbal expectation that we were to be on the job all the time, there was activity taking place. So there would be emails, in communication. There would be documents to forward. There would be documents to work with. There would be resumes to complete. Clients would be, they're active at all times of the day. And so there was this silent, subtle line that was crossed by just having access to the work phone and the work laptop and being able to take that home with us. So I just wanted to bring this up as a discussion topic and maybe ask about your experiences and any ways that you might have been mitigating or creating barriers for yourself, if any.
Well, I think it is a really wonderful topic. I had lunch with a longtime friend of mine yesterday, and we actually talked about this. She is in a position, she works for a large insurance company, and she's looking at changing jobs. But if she changes her position, she goes from hourly to salaried, and with that could potentially come unlimited overtime would be expected. And she's kind of in a place in her life right now where she's pursuing some entrepreneurial things, and she may have to do a trade in order to create that work-life balance. And we talked through some of the possibilities of what that could look like and what that would mean for self-satisfaction. And so I think it's always interesting because I've been an entrepreneur since 2004. And so I have been able to create a life around, or a business around my family life. And so I've been very intentional about building work-life balance, if you will, because I see so many of my friends in the corporate world struggling with that very thing, that they don't have the freedom to make the choices to, do the things that are important to them to create that balance. On the flip side, as an entrepreneur and thinking about pleasing clients and being available, you have to be very intentional about building boundaries around your time. And just like you mentioned with laptops and cell phones, that can take over your life very easily. And you can set up that expectation that you're going to respond within minutes because you have the capabilities to do that with the technology that you have. And for me, I don't typically answer email over the weekend, and I shut my phone off at 8 o'clock at night. I don't respond to anything from anybody. I'm helping raise my 5-year-old granddaughter. I volunteer 1 day a week at her school, and I let everybody know I'll check my email, but don't expect me to get back to you until the end of the day. This is my time. This is what's important for me. I'm investing in my granddaughter's life, and I'm not going to be derailed because it's very easy to be derailed with somebody else's activities. So I think when it comes to creating that work-life balance, you have to train people how you want to be treated and train them to respect the boundaries that you set. And, I share this with my clients too, that you have to love yourself enough to know what you need to feed yourself in order to go out and be the best that you can be at whatever it is that you're pursuing, whether it's an entrepreneurial thing or whether it's a brick and mortar career thing with a large corporation. You have to have some non-negotiables in your life. And, for me, that's self-care. And I think that everybody, when they're building work-life boundaries, satisfaction, balance, they need to incorporate that into their life at some point. Because if they don't, they are going to experience burnout on a faster level, on a higher level. One of the reasons that I left, I was a professional party planner. I was working 80 to 90 hours a week. I was working 7 days a week. I would be on my phone in the shower, muted, so I could get out the door because my phone just rang all the time. It prohibited me from being at important events for my kids. It prevented me from having any kind of a social life or a romantic life. And I had to say, this is enough. This is not the life that I want to live. This is not me living out my core values. And this is not me putting my family first. And at that time, I was a single mom. I had 4 kids, and, my income was very important for raising them and providing for them. And I had to have a paradigm shift in what was really important. The money was great, but what was I sacrificing? That wasn't time I was ever able to recover, So I think that you have to really identify what your core values are, what is really important to you, create some non-negotiables in there, and then put some intentional strategies in place to protect your time and to be able to invest and nourish your soul so you can go out and be the best that you can be at the goals that you're trying to achieve.
Yeah. So what really stood out to me was the satisfaction balance. I just like that, rather than saying the work-life balance, but that satisfaction balance, being able to see it as a larger perspective than just work. It really then can incorporate anything that is kind of interfering with our self-fulfillment.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that's interesting that instead of saying work-life balance, it's satisfaction, because it means different things to different people. And that could be a great thing for different businesses, or it could mean a terrible thing because that means so many different things to different people. So as a young professional who didn't start a family yet, doesn't have kids, I can allocate more time to investing in myself, my career, my personal passions and things like that. But as someone in Anza's position, when they have families, that time is different, and how they choose to use that time is different. And I think that's a great thing, that it means different things to different people. You guys brought up really interesting points about ease of access and that kind of preventing people from really turning off, whether that be your cell phone or even your mind. Since I come from the startup world and entrepreneurship world, especially when you're running a business, you're always thinking, you're always trying to solve a problem. There's always a fire to put out. There's always something going wrong. There's always something you can do better. And there's a lot of guilt, shame, pressure, desire to perform better. And as Anza said, it's very important to set those clear boundaries and communicate. I think a lot of the times the issue is that we don't communicate, saying, hey, this is my cutoff point, which I commend Anza for doing really well, saying this is my time. I respect it if you can respect that, as I have other obligations as well. And then also really focusing on self-care. I think that with the increase in burnout rates, if we don't prioritize ourselves, eventually, whether it's our business, whether it's the company we work for, whether it's our friends and family, relationships, whatever it is, they suffer as well. It's not just us. And then that could also lead to depression, other mental illness, because the idea behind mental illness is it affects your quality of life. Whatever illness you have, when it becomes, I guess, almost serious, or one where you should seeing a professional, is that when your quality of life is affected. And a lot of times now, more and more people are depressed, more and more people have anxiety. And personally, I fear for the next generation, because I see some of them in our community, in our network, where they don't feel comfortable talking to other people outside their own comfort zone. And that can be very problematic. But going back to this, I think some solution that Trent went kind of touch upon is more training, personal development. I think that would be amazing. Whether that's training on how to meditate better, because I think that people will learn meditation at a much later age, and or when they get it in a crisis. So you can do it kind of do it as a preventative measure, where you learn it younger and earlier, so that as you go about, it's not just a coping or not just a recovery, but more so like a healthy practice. Other personal, professional, self-care, learning different skill sets so it can make your job easier, or learning different topics so that you can perform better in all aspects of your life. Also, something I was thinking about in terms of the recent news about Anthony Bourdain's suicide is the need for things like mental health days. So as a disclaimer, I'm a psychology background, or a psychology major in college, and we don't treat mental health as important as we do physical health, right? And so in workplace, we get sick days. But there is this stigma like, oh, if you call out because you're not feeling well, whether that's physically or emotionally, that can be very problematic. And I think it's important that we also have health days and a way to address the rise in suicide and mental illness, changing policies where companies have mental health days, have insurance that can cover therapy and psychological practices, because that is very much needed. And I think that we as a society don't value that enough. For example, when you hear of stories of how people are depressed and people in their network or community don't know how to deal with it, they would say, oh, just walk it off. It's in your head, or you'll be fine. It's fine. Just go out. But they're suffering from depression or whatever mental illness it may be. But if that person were to have a physical issue, such as like a broken leg, you wouldn't tell them, hey, it's in your head. Hey, go walk it off. Like, you'll be perfectly fine. Just like, it's all internal. Don't worry about it. Like, you wouldn't have that same conversation or same reaction. So I don't understand why people do that for mental health. I think it's a lack of education, a lack of almost at this point, it's awareness, and at some levels, compassion. So I think that in order to increase satisfaction, there are lots of things that we can do, both within our own lives, as well as within our own communities, as well as within the workplace. And that's important as younger and younger people are starting businesses and companies, and also younger generations are taking over businesses and companies, that we emphasize the importance of these issues.
I totally agree with what point that stood out to me was, instead of having a coping strategy or settling on the coping strategy, but also becoming or turning it into a skill that can be developed over a period of time. So we then, by doing that, we reach a point where we are thriving, rather than having this midpoint where we're constantly trying to build ourselves back up on all these different levels. We actually have a skill that's ingrained, and then we can get to a point where we're thriving in these environments. Working with clients, I find that the success of their organization and their professional development, it seems to be almost independent of their emotional maturity, the mental state, the mindfulness, and that they can be very successful without having it. However, as we're describing, there is a point where the quality of life or quality of performance as well begins to deteriorate if the other skills, or the more mindful based skills, are not cultivated. And this is my area of focus with coaching, where I work to equip professionals with that set of skills so they can just continue doing what they're doing, but they do it with a different state of mind, and really developing emotionally, so that they can have this awareness that you described, Melissa. So that this really stood out to me, turning it from a coping strategy into a skill that is learned and can be refined constantly over time. Wonderful. So thank you for everyone wanting to participate in that. I suspect that many of us are experiencing it, if we are not directly, but seeing it happen to our friends, family, third parties. And as we continue to become more digital, and all the factors that Anza and Melissa explained, influencing our daily lives, business-wise and personally, having these skills is a very important. And so we'll move to the mastermind piece. And this is really the core of the work, and that this is formed so that we can support each other regarding ideas and resources, information in any way that's possible. And so the way that this will work is each of us will be allotted the time that we need to describe whatever that is, project, idea, a concept. It doesn't have to be fully formed. It could be on the verge of completion, whatever that is. We have the space now to share it, and then we'll just have a roundtable going in order of our thoughts on how we can assist. And assist can look like advice. It can look like a link or a website. It can look like a person that could be referenced to assist. So the ball game is open to any way. So I'll go first. My project that I'm working on here is having a collection of T-shirts, and I'm a writer as well. And so while having books and pamphlets, and I write on blogs, and I have a blog myself, and I do lots of writing, but I want to now be able to turn that into a product form other than books. And so one concept I've had was very cool messages on T-shirts that can describe mindfulness or can describe health, can describe emotional development. These shirts would be able to provide people who wear them with a sense of building self-esteem. And the messages work like affirmations. So the stage I'm at now is really just sourcing where I could have the shirts produced. I have a lot of writing that I can pull from, so the content is there, but the actual meat of taking the words and putting it on a shirt and just having that process take place, so that selling mechanism.
Have you ever heard of print on demand community?
Print on demand.
So there's an online community called Print on Demand, which is what they do is they submit online designs for t-shirts on platforms like Amazon Merch, Etsy, Redbubble, things like that. And depending on the platform, what they do is as the producer, the seller, I'm trying to remember the keywords, the seller, you would come up with the designs, upload it to the shirts, and upload the image of the shirt onto the site, and it will be able to go live. People are able to buy it, and depending on the platform, they can take care of the manufacturing, the shipping, all the drop shipping and things like that for you. The biggest platform is Amazon Merch. The only thing is it takes a long time. I don't know if you ever sold anything on Amazon before. Have you?
No, not yet.
Okay.
My books, but I mean the seller community part.
Yeah.
Do you mean? No, I haven't sold there.
So if you haven't sold anything on Amazon yet, what I would recommend is signing up for it, because it can take like months to actually be able to submit designs. That being said, there are other platforms. I don't know what that timeline looks like, but I would really look into print on demand community, because there is a process where you can just pretty much upload your designs and everyone takes, like all the other parts take care of it for you. And you're also able to share that link with your community so that you don't have to kind of print all the shirts, box it, and then wait for them to sell it and then send it individually. You can do that. This is just a shorter way. And people use it as a way of passive income and or another business. In terms of the affirmation, I think that's amazing. One of the startups in my network called Penji, they're PENJI, they're an unlimited graphic design startup. And so they service print on demand community. So a lot of their clients do that. So if you have the designs, the content, what you can do is you can sign on as a member of Penji. Their website is penji.co. And they can do all the designs for you. And then you would get it and upload it onto whatever platform you need. In terms of starting right away, I think if you were to start right now, the manual way, as in like you order the t-shirts, you print and wait for someone to sell, you can probably get that going relatively sooner. But then that's a lot of work, that's a lot of inventory, that's a lot of overhead that you might have to take into consideration. But if you're a little bit more patient and you're kind of, as you're creating content and collecting the designs, you can start doing the print on demand stuff.
On demand sounds much more attractive at this point.
Yeah, let's work on your end. And if anything, I'm happy to I'm happy to send over the website. And also, I know they have a discount going on right now on the website. If not, I can always get you one.
On Penji.
On Penji for the designs, because I know graphics, as in like sorry, my pen got tangled in my notebook. Graphics with words and quotes and stuff like that, apparently they're really popular on there. So I think that might be helpful for you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I would just echo what Melissa shared. I have a girlfriend who just started using the print on demand to create t-shirts for mothers and daughters. And it is taking off fairly quickly for her. And it's super easy because they'll provide your logo, they'll do all the printing, all the shipping, which really helps you, again, with overhead. I have sold some things through Amazon in the past, and Amazon is tedious to work with. So you're going to probably want to hire somebody to handle all of the admin side of Amazon. And then also you have Amazon taking a cut of your profitability too. So you're kind of getting hit twice with Amazon taking their share and then hiring somebody to do the admin work. When I had my virtual assistant business, I supported 2 Amazon sellers, and it's a headache. They don't make their interfaces easy. It's very complex and time consuming, and it's almost like they're trying to sabotage the people who are sellers on the site. And in order to gain traction, they have a particular set of hoops that you need to work through, and being able to be seen as like one of the top sellers takes a lot of giving away product to get the reviews that you need to push you to the top to actually be seen. And so, again, that's kind of the third way that you're being hit profitability, by giving away product in exchange for reviews.
Interesting. So and this all takes place on the Amazon platform.
It does.
Okay.
There are also, I don't know if you're into stationery. There's a market on also Etsy. I think that if you're going the motivational quote route, what you can do is like kind of design it where they print it on notebooks or pens or a lot of things like that and sell it on there. That one is a little harder because I think you do have to kind of create the products yourself. I don't know. There's kind of like a drop ship model similar to Amazon with t-shirts. The Penji team has a lot of info on like what kind of platforms they have. So if you really just want to stick with t-shirts, I can connect with them and get that list for you. There's also on Etsy, what some people do is take the same design on a t-shirt and then put it on a sweatshirt, put it on a hoodie, put it on whatever it is. So if you're looking at it as a passive income, yes, there are challenges, and I think Anza's right in bringing them up. Like, it is a lot of work to set up because you have to look into like keywords, you have to look in what designs are trending and things like that. But if your main goal is to kind of get motivational things out there without a lot of the headache of the overhead, you can kind of get that started. And then the more you sell, the more commission you can make. Because I think when you start, you only make like $5 a shirt, depending on how much you sell the shirt for. Like if you're selling the shirt for like, I think the ratio is like $20, you make $5 off. So it's really a quantity game.
It is.
Yeah, it is. The intent is to have start with the shirts, but then also all kinds of apparel. So hats and mugs and something cool on a pen. But the t-shirt seems to be one of the quickest ways to begin that track.
If you're looking for multiple, then you might have to do the printing yourself. I don't know. But I do know that it's from, as I supported the startup, Penji, they told me like some of their customers said that Etsy is probably a great platform to do if you're going to do all types of merch types, like not just t-shirts, but also like hoodies and pens and all this other stuff. That's probably a better market for you then.
Okay, we'll research each of those. Thank you. Yeah, so I want to make sure that everyone has their due time. So who would like to go next?
I'm volunteering Anza. Oh no, Melissa, you go.
I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm not totally prepared.
Or even think about it this way: if there's something that you are already working on, and would just like to share it and see if just pick our brains with.
Yeah. So okay, I have a 4-month virtual program that I have been trying to sell unsuccessfully. And it's designed for women, kind of not a Napoleon Hill mastermind, but 2 mastermind calls a month that would require or part of it would be teaching, part of it would be interacting similarly to what we did today. And then there would be challenges, there would be some homework, there would be book reading. And the whole purpose of this particular program that I designed is to help women increase their self-love, build their self-confidence, create courage to take the next steps, helping them identify the areas in their life where they're really stuck and they need an action plan to work through whatever that pain point is and create some solutions. Part of the program is also really being able to get clarity on what their vision is, what their core values are, so they can see if what their passions are and what they think they want to pursue are in alignment with, that whole package. I have a lot of people who are really interested in it, and I know they would do it with me for free, but I cannot seem to get anybody to commit to buying it.
So, what is the program? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
What is the format of the program, the virtual program?
So it's 2 live calls via Zoom a month. We would have a private Facebook group that we could interact in daily. So there's confidentiality. So people are able, to be authentic and vulnerable and, be really honest with themselves and get the support in the group. Homework would be discussed on calls and in the group. You can have group support and also live discussion and support. They would also have access, to me for additional coaching and guidance. So some of it is, like cookie cutter, everybody gets the same program, but, if somebody has something very special that they're trying to work on, we would customize a piece, just for them to give them the resources to get through that particular pain point, to get to the other side of their issue.
And how are you marketing this right now?
So I've been marketing it through Facebook, through Instagram, and through email.
As in what? Ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, just posts?
A combination of those.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a webinar.
Mm-hmm.
And I, like I said, I have people who are interested, but I'm not getting people to pull the trigger. So I'm not sure if it's my advertising format, if it's my languaging, if I'm just not being courageous enough to say, buy me. I feel like I am, but maybe the perception is I'm not being as clear in that messaging.
What is the price point?
Because this is the first time I'm running this particular course, I'm offering an introductory price of $497.
$497. Okay, for 4 months.
Yeah, 16 weeks.
16 weeks. Okay. And who are you targeting?
I am targeting women between 35 and 55.
And how are you reaching them?
Through Facebook ads and through Instagram. And then I have a small mailing list. It's not nearly as big as it should be, but through my mailing list as well.
So you said you're focusing it on teaching women self-love and overcoming challenges. Is there, can you share with us quickly some of the language? Or if you want to send us some of the ads that you have used, we could take a look at it.
Okay.
Because, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, let me send some.
Uh-huh.
I don't have all of that like right at my fingertips.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, send it to us later is what I mean. But so as I was doing research for Strive and kind of really building out the community, I did see a lot of people selling webinars.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it was focused on growing blogs because I was on blog, Facebook groups and things like that. That being said, I was exposed to some of their marketing, and kind of can understand and kind of pick up some of the cues and trends. I will say, if you're selling something like this, you'll be surprised, but the best place is probably Pinterest. I don't know if you've done any research on Pinterest, but Pinterest might be an area that you really want to dig into, because it is a search engine, basically. And especially if the topic is self-love, I think that's something that you can really hook people on, because people do go on there and pin and share. And that's one way to like increase your marketing, both organically and through ads or whatever, paid advertisement. I think in terms of, depending on the language, because we're just kind of discussing this from an overhead, I would like, for me, I'm a little younger in demographic, but for me to sign on, I really have to understand the value and really feel like you would be addressing a problem. So self-love is something that I think people should care about, but reality is for the most part, they don't, until it's like a crisis, right? Until you're burned out, you're not going to think, I need to love myself. The age group might be a determining factor. So I can only speak from what I've seen and what I know. That being said, if you can position it as saying, here's your problem, here's the problem, whether it's having marital problems, maybe self-love is the answer. Here, I can teach you self-love. Are you divorced and dating? First thing is, you need to grow your respect for yourself. Here's how I can help you do that. And really, the more targeted the problem is and more targeted your language could be, I think it can help you. And I think that because once people give you a chance, they'll be very amazed. Like, I was very amazed when I connect with you, how wise and inspiring you are. So I think that I don't want you to feel afraid of being too targeted, because then you feel like, oh, well, I can't help these type of women, but you can. It's just more so you want to kind of find like that niche market, tackle that really well. And then other people be like, hey, I'm not a divorcee, but I could use more self-love because, like, you know, my kids are leaving the nest and now I have all this time and I really want to work on myself. Right. Or whatever that looks like, right?
Right. And I do talk about that, like, like people who are women, especially who are going through transition, whether it's empty nest, divorce, death of a spouse, they want to change careers. You know, like I have a friend from high school who went into education. She's been teaching for 25 years and hated every moment of it. But she doesn't have enough self-confidence to step out and be a writer, which is what her true passion is. And so, you know, it's situations like that where they really have to have the self-confidence and the self-love and the belief in themselves to be able to say, this is what I want to do. And it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier with that satisfaction level. You know, you go to work for 25 years and you don't feel satisfaction. You know, you hate what you're doing every minute of it. I mean, what a dreary life is that? And so really it's about gaining the courage to live the life that you want to live, to create the life that you want to live. You know, the fact that it's never too late to learn how to dance. It's never too late to change careers. It's never too late to find the romance of your life. You know, whatever that thing is for you that's missing. I mean, the root of it all is belief in yourself, belief you're worthy of having whatever your ex is, you know? And regardless, and, you know, I don't know, I think that the message could resonate with millennials too. Although that's never been my target. The more I have been hanging out in Facebook groups, I see that they deal with the same issues. You know, they went to college, they got a degree in a particular field. They hate it. They don't want to do that. They want something else, but they feel like, oh, you know, I just spent tens of thousands of dollars on this degree. I'm locked into this, when, I mean, you're not. You can change your mind. You can reinvent yourself. You can recreate the life path that you started on. You don't have to just be a square peg stuck in a square hole.
Anza, so did you mention that the group who you work with, you do work with them and they've shown interest, but they're not paying?
Yeah.
Okay. So three resources come to mind for me in that if if there's a network there, the numbers, I'm looking at it from an ecosystem perspective, in that if you create an ecosystem where in order for them to enter, they have to, there has to be an energy exchange or monetary exchange, that they can then receive what is within the ecosystem. So one that comes to mind is Mighty Networks, and the website is mightynetworks.com.
Okay.
And what this is it's an alternative to Facebook, where if a community is built within Facebook, but it's only housed in Facebook, all activity that takes place there, it sort of stays only within Facebook. And so let's say if Facebook goes down, all the members within in a group, those would be lost. But what Mighty Networks is focusing on is being able to capture the members and allow the creator to have their own forum. So when you go in, if you go to the website, you'll be able to see the different options that it has, but you can create a platform where you can provide courses, you can provide worksheets, you can provide chat room opportunities for the members that are inside. You can communicate with them as well, and you can give it a name, so it's its own internally housed space.
Awesome.
So without, I would say, not to remove Facebook, also keep it, but this can be something, if your target is highly focused this way, there could be an entry point in your, in Anza's community. Just say that, for example, community XYZ, they can sign up to register for community X, Y, and Z. And at that point, in order for them to get in to access all of what you're providing, they would have to pay. You don't have to have them pay, but you can provide that as an option.
Gotcha.
The second is Thinkific. Have you heard of this?
I have not.
Thinkific is a course creation platform. And so they specialize in creating classes. You can create your own class. You can upload documents. You can make video and audio. You essentially create the course, and you can put a price tag on it. So if you have multiple modalities that you're working with, the calls, Facebook, if there are other spaces where they can receive complimentary material, the meat of what you're providing could be provided in a course. And so they can buy the course. You can put any price tag that you want on that. And
it could just be self-directed. Is that the thought behind it?
It is self-directed, yes. And you can also interact with the course takers, the students. You can also edit or create. You can navigate the way that the student goes through the courses. So in order for them to get to chapter 3, they have to complete chapter 2, whatever that is. You can block it off.
Gotcha.
And then the third is, I'm actually still researching this myself. I have a few sites that I can send you, but I haven't chosen one yet. But also looking at membership sites. And so the platform itself would be by design of a membership. Whatever you put in there, in the website, in order for the individual to access it, there's a monthly.
I had looked at Kajabi as a membership site, and I didn't like it, and so I need
Kajabi.
Yeah. I was very disappointed in the way that it actually functioned, and I know lots of people love it, and so it's just my personal preference. I'm not dogging them by any stretch of the imagination. It just didn't work for my style, but I have looked into doing something similar to that as an option, because I know that that's a really popular sales technique these days.
Okay.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Melissa.
I'm here.
Yes. What do you have?
So I've been thinking a lot about the future of Strive, and the different types of content, and like many of the fun things we can do. And so I would love your feedback on that. I'm scared to talk about it because it's a little far. It's a little bit far in the future, because I know that with this, it's very easy to get excited and like throw all different types of content or all different types of ideas and just bombard people, and then people kind of really lose track of the branding and what it's all about. And so I'm trying to, one, do the research, do what I need to do, to kind of really incubate a lot of the ideas in order to kind of get all the ducks in line before I launch anything. So there's a few things. For me, not so much the challenge, but what I know I need to do is constantly put out like high quality content, starting with the articles, which I have a few articles that I'm backlog, in terms of editing, and then working with the content writers, yours included, so don't kill me.
Good time.
Fine. It's just funny because I know for both of you guys, your contents are really like, you go through and you're like, all right, this is great, just post. Other people are need a little bit more work, either because they're not naturally writers, and or they're just like specific things about their idea that needs a little bit more attention, which is perfectly fine. Like, that's the whole point. Like, these are stories and perspective of a wide range of people, not just like skilled writers that are all day just writing content just for the sake of content, but they're really sharing stories and ideas and perspectives. That being said, I do need to get better at that, instead of just getting excited for like just new ideas and different content ideas. So a few ideas or a few things that I'm personally working on that I think Strive would be great for the Strive platform is, for me right now, I'm kind of on this personal journey of trying to understand impact and the idea of how do you measure impact, how do you scale impact, and how do you get like the everyday person to think about impact in a way where they're able to do something, right? And so for me, I see it as a great opportunity to do research and connect with people to learn like about social impact across the board, like just to see how businesses go about doing social impact, how civic organization is addressing different social issues, and then how can we as a community empower the everyday person to really take action and make a difference. So that's one thing. Another, I guess, event series or content series, I should say, is I'm thinking of doing something called Startups Changing the World, which is features of various startups of how they're addressing certain issues that are affecting people across the world. And really just thinking about how to create the community in a way that not only does the content, which I think content like this, the Let's Talk discussion, the Facebook group, the articles are able to get people to think and find different ways to kind of better themselves, but also how can we as a community, because I consider you guys like regular contributors as well, because you guys are, how can we as a like leading community help those in the community be the best version of themselves, right? Personally and professionally. And then how can we also help them help other people, whether it's in their local community, whether it's on a global scale or anything like that.
One thing that came to mind was, are you familiar with this concept called adulting?
Yeah.
So for those who haven't, right, who are probably going to watch this and they don't know what that is, it's a process, or it's actually some kind of niche now, I think, where young adults, and I would actually include everyone who is an adult or becoming, developing skills so that they are self-sufficient and able to have impact both in their lives but also within their communities. Becoming really effective citizens is how I see it. But not adulting in itself is what comes to mind to me, but really the core is, which is really equipping people with tools. And so I think for Strive, I think one way that we could do this is by having some kind of resource bank or toolkit where out of all the content that we're sharing and all the contributors and everything that is adding value through Strive, we are able to extract whatever those practical tools and resources are. So if we recognize that in a particular community, voting is an issue or the lack of, perhaps there isn't enough knowledge in that area about how to vote. So maybe a resource tool or resource piece would be a session on how to vote or how to register to vote. Where do people go on a website so that they can actually vote? Where can we ship, blank registration forms so that people know actually what they can do or how to actually sign up to vote? That's instantly what comes to mind. I think having a set of tools so that however that looks in Strive, a person can go to that space and they can get this huge list that is organized based on types of impact. So social impact, economic impact, what are the resources that people can actually pull and take with them, and then they can then implement it in their own space. I also thought of informational interviews. So us being journalists in a way and reaching out to companies that we recognize have impact and phrasing it, as an informational interview. So it's a softer way of gaining access to people and really questioning, or asking them how do they do what they do in a non-threatening way. So as they don't see us as competition, but we're really just trying to learn. And even those talks, information that comes from that could be applied to the resource bank. And then also what comes to mind is a website called hunter.io. Hunter.io is a website that essentially, do you know what it is?
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Oh, okay.
They basically have access. You can pretty much plug in a website, and then they will give you all the contact info of the people on the website, like their emails and names and positions and things like that. That's a great one.
Yes.
Yeah, I really like the informational interview, and that's something that I am looking to do. I do have one interview that I'm editing right now. And I think it's just interesting because I think the community or the platform grew that allowed me a lot more access than I originally anticipated. But then at the same time, I knew it could happen. I just didn't realize how quickly it could happen. And then I got contact with someone and I was like, hey, do you want to do an interview? Let's talk. Because I think you have an interesting spirit, interesting message to say. And then it's also able to provide great messaging as well. And I think the tools and resources are important. I've been thinking about how to kind of put that together through our work. I just am curious to see how we get from where we are now to collecting a lot of those resources. And so what do you think?
I think Trent had all the really great ideas. It was like, oh my gosh, yes, that. I especially like the whole resource kit thing, because I think that's really important in building a community, to have almost like a one-stop shop, be able to provide those things. And I do that in my groups too. I am really big on having book lists for people to do, offering challenges to help them dig deeper. So if you see particular topics that people are struggling with or want to know more about, being able to offer like a 7-day challenge or a 10-day challenge. depending on what it is, you might want to do like a 30-day challenge. Those are pretty easy to put together. And it would also be able to be used almost like a lead magnet to bring more people into your community while enriching their lives at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's, if you're interested in doing something like that, I can help you with that.
That'd be great. Yeah. I've seen a lot of them. They're very popular on Pinterest. And I think it's very interesting to take a look at it from a different perspective. I also like your book list idea. And I think that we could always like come together as a community and ask like, what are your top books to read for X problem? And
Right.
then and then kind of collect everyone's suggestions on there and kind of view them and get like quotes like, this book is really great because it helped me does this. And I think it's a great way to kind of allow everyone's voice to shine through and get everyone to participate.
Mm-hmm. And it just creates a really wonderful collection, based on different categories. And it also saves you a lot of time in researching all of that. And you can pull together some really great resources really quickly. And people really appreciate that. And, whether it's a podcast, a book, a TED Talk, that was really helpful or inspiring, it's really nice just to have a go-to place. Because anybody can go to Google and Google all of this information on their own, but seriously, who has the time? And a lot of people would invest more time in themselves if things were convenient and on a shelf or in a document or in, one easy findable place to get to.
Yeah, I think these curated lists could be really helpful. You're right. It is very attractive marketing wise, but I think it's also a great way to kind of get everyone's perspective and start conversation because it's very easy to say, hey, what is your top book for saving money? And people are like, oh, I never read that book. And then kind of spark conversations and discussions from there.
Mm-hmm.
It could even include the person's either name or if they wish something that connects to that person, so you can instantly actually find that person. It could be a quote by them, and they can say, "Well, I found this book useful because I was out of work for X, Y, and Z time, and I was able to save, and I use this book strategy to save." So there's some kind of feedback that they have experienced the book with, and then something connecting to them. And a Strive person could just go in there and find that person in the group.
Yeah, and I think they're also that this kind of style becomes also like an easy article because sometimes as I'm creating the kind of content calendar, sometimes if I'm behind, it might be easy to kind of plug in like an easier article where it's like it kind of pretty much pre-writes itself. As I'm like editing contributors articles and also like writing articles myself.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you so much. Are there any topics specifically you would like to take lead on now that we're on these topics?
Yeah, definitely the curated the book list. I would enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
Or if it's not just books, even let me know how or what your larger vision would be of that, because it could expand beyond books. It could be like Anza said, the TED Talks and things like this. So I would love to assist with that. I wrote this down. I know it's probably far off, but I wrote it down. So I'm just going to throw it out there and say Strive chapters. So, right, this is something that could take it to a ground level, or planting Strive within communities where there could be a Strive chapter in Ohio, a Strive chapter in California. But for that to take place, we would have some kind of model on how Strive how Strive does things. How does Strive do business? And leaders could take their helm in those respective spaces, being leads of certain chapters in the country, and just a way to expand Strive's influence, whatever resources that are provided, but doing it on a ground level.
Yeah, no, I think that's something that I have thought of, and it's definitely not far off. I think it's if you look at the business model, Levo League, the website is Levo, and a lot of the membership sites have kind of local chapters. But you're right, it does need that kind of structure of like what is each chapter going to do? Why are the cities specific matter? Because they can, I think once we build up a large overall communities, if you break it down to like cities or sectors or whatever it is, or in this case chapters, they can hone in on the local issues. For example, if it was like a social local issue, they can have a community to not only help them there, but also like get in touch with the global community to get more resources and access to different things. Mm-hmm. So that's definitely something that I'm interested in and happy to work with you for.
I was part of the it's a very long name, the National Society of Leadership and Success. They are they're housed in Hoboken, but they had this model of their chapters focused on universities and colleges. Mm-hmm. So they would set up chapters in the institutions. The Hoboken space is the major, the central piece.
Headquarters.
Yeah, and spread out amongst the universities and colleges. Each had a chapter. Within those chapters are memberships and leadership within those. You have members, they have events, and it just that model allowed for the influence of what they wanted to do to spread very quickly. So, yes, I would enjoy working with you on that.
Awesome.
Any other ideas, any thoughts? This could be about anything as we begin to close the space.
I was just going to offer up to you, Trent, as far as the book resources. I do a reading list for my tribe every year. And so I have a pretty exhaustive list, like on leadership and personal development and emotional intelligence kind of thing. I'm happy to send you my list and see if any of those resonate with you, so you're not just starting, at ground zero.
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
Work for you, yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And before we end, are there any takeaways? So anything that we are self-committing to doing, just based off of what was shared here today? It could be about from any of the spaces, either the meditation, the introductions, the mastermind, the current issues. Is there anything that we want to share that we are going to be working on and committing to? I know mine in particular will be definitely searching up the print on demand space, looking at Penji. I'll be researching them as well, and selecting a website or a company to work with. And I want to be able to do that this week so that I can begin taking the next steps on how to actually have the work on their products. So this week I will be researching and then making a selection by the end of the week.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to this week look at the website that you sent me for Mighty Networks and take a look at that and see if I think that would be a good fit. But I'm also going to go back and revisit my sales content. Just talking through it with you guys, I think I do need to niche down a little bit more and be less broad and more specific. And so I'm going to work on getting that rewritten and just keep moving forward with that.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
I'm going to keep up to date with my content calendar. I have a list of articles and emails I have to get back to. So I'm going to try to do that this week, and then also next week. This week and next week, I'm going to kind of do some design thinking. I'm going to partner with Katarina and do some design thinking of kind of the future for Strive, because I think that there's so much we can do. I just want to get an idea of like milestones, problems, niches as well as kind of content, and kind of plan that out on a larger scale. Because I think that for us, it's been very exciting, and both of you have been very supportive in coming up with great ideas and great content. So now I want to think like, okay, like as we kind of start introducing new ideas and new things into the community, how can we better increase the success and kind of support people in that aspect, and really not only produce high quality content, but space it out so people aren't overwhelmed where the brand would be a little diluted. Because I think that for you guys, you kind of see how everything intertwines with each other, but maybe as a new person, they're not sure what our specialty is. And I think that that's kind of my responsibility to really hone in on the branding and the pathway for the future of Strive.
It's a perfect way to close. In the mindfulness or meditation space, we usually say that whatever's imagined is already happened. So in the mind, it's already created, it's already designed, and all we're doing at this point is just taking the physical steps to make it happen. So we're working backwards and forwards. So thank you for participating. I really enjoyed this. And we are looking to do this monthly. And so we're at 3 now. And I envision that we will have many, many more people participating on the calls. So thank you, Melissa and Anza. It's been wonderful.
Well, thank you for leading. It was a great call.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Got it. Take care. Bye.